When the priest takes the basket from your hand and sets it down before the altar of the Lord, you shall make this response before the Lord your God. A wandering Aramaean was my ancestor. He went down into Egypt and lived there as an alien, few in number. And there he became a great nation, mighty and populous. Growing up a fan of science fiction, I learned early on that alien referred to beings from another planet, usually oddly shaped in at least one way or maybe more ways. They were powerful and menacing, often scary too. Steven Spielberg redefined the concept of the alien in his movies, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in 1977 now, and in 1982's E.T. Instead of a horrible menace with malicious intent, the alien became a creature of unimaginable technological advancement and thoughtfulness and curiosity and heart. It was transformative. So it took me a while to accept the term as applying to people from other countries here on planet Earth. Sting helped, maybe intentionally, in his 1987 song, Englishman in New York. I don't take coffee, I take tea, my dear. I like my toast done on one side, and you can hear it in my accent when I talk. I'm an Englishman in New York. See me walking down Fifth Avenue, a walking cane here at my side. I take it everywhere I walk. I'm an Englishman in New York. Oh, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. If manners maketh man, as someone said, he's the hero of the day. It takes a man to suffer ignorance and smile. Be yourself, no matter what they say. Oh, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Modesty, propriety can lead to notoriety. You could end up as the only one. Gentleness, sobriety are rare in this society. At night, a candle's brighter than the sun. Takes more than combat gear to make a man. Takes more than a license for a gun. Confront your enemies, avoid them when you can. A gentleman will walk, but never run. Be yourself, no matter what they say. I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Be yourself, no matter what they say. I'm an Aramaean, a wandering Aramaean. I'm an Aramaean in the promised land. Be yourself, no matter what they say. It is a pivotal moment in the history of God's people, the Hebrews. Having been freed from slavery in Egypt, formed in the desert wandering for 40 years, they are about to become citizens of the promised land. In good form, a liturgy is produced and introduced. It includes an action. People are supposed to take some of the produce from the new land that they are entering and present it to the priest, a sign of the newness of life and God's bounty in this place they've come to. And then there is some liturgical language that's given very specifically. When you present the basket, say this. It's remembering who they are and where they've come from. It's an affirmation of what God is doing in their life, and it's a commitment to how they're going to live in this new place. It's a little like the great prayer of thanksgiving that accompanies the Eucharist when we gather at this table. We hold up the elements. We remember what God has done in the past. And we celebrate what God is doing now, even as we wait for that great day when we will share this feast with Christ in heaven. They're given a distinctive ritual to help them remember that they are aliens. At that pivotal moment, that defining moment in the life of the people of God, that they are to affirm that they are aliens. They were aliens, and they're about to become aliens, living with aliens together in a new place. Together, they're all beneficiaries of God's bounty. They are never to forget where they came from. We have, on the other hand, forgotten that we are aliens. As people of European descent in this land, we have forgotten that we are aliens. As people of faith, Christians in particular, living on this planet, our memories are short. We have forgotten that we are aliens on this planet. And we've gotten so used to our place of privilege, we hardly track anymore with our distinctive identity as aliens on this planet. That's how Lent can be helpful. It started on Wednesday when about 16 of us gathered here in the sanctuary and streaked each other's foreheads with the ashes from last year's Palm Sunday. We gather here in the sanctuary to remember that we are dust, and that to dust will return. That's part of who we are. We are a people created out of the dust of the earth. God's Spirit breathed into us to make us human beings, both broken and beloved. In today's texts, as Lida already helped draw our attention to, we're out in the desert again with Jesus, confronting the chaotic powers of darkness that seek to define and distract with temptations to be other than who and what God intends. Temptations to so blend in with the world's distorted ideas about power and identity and success that we completely forget who we are. That's what the devil wants. For us to completely forget who we really are. But what the devil got that day instead was Jesus' decisive rebuke and 2,000 years of church history of the people gathered together to be Jesus' distinctive presence on this planet. I don't take coffee, I take tea, my dear. I like my toast done on one side because I'm an Englishman in New York. I'm an alien. I'm an alien. I'm a Christian alien. I'm a Christian on the earth. Distinct, different, weird, oddly shaped, powerful, maybe sometimes menacing or hopefully scary to the powers that be when we threaten them with what it means to be truly faithful. So what does that look like today, to be an Englishman in New York, to be a Christian on this planet? Well, there are as many variations as there are people of faith or people in this room. And we each have an answer for that. And we each have a way of living that out in our lives. 16 of us lived it out by gathering here for the ashes on Sunday. More of us are gathered here on this first Sunday in Lent to live it out, what it means to be different in this world. But right now we're looking together at one document drafted by a variety of faith leaders from a variety of places in the church's life on Ash Wednesday a year ago. Reclaiming Jesus is a confession of faith, and today's session is to protect and seek justice. In that, we'll review the third affirmation of the 6 in the confession. Here's what it says. We believe, these leaders who gathered on Ash Wednesday, we believe how we treat the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the stranger, the sick, and the prisoner is how we treat Christ himself. They find that in Matthew 25. Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me. God calls us to protect and seek justice for those who are poor and vulnerable, and our treatment of people who are oppressed, strangers, outsiders, or otherwise considered marginal is a test of our relationship to God, who made us all equal in divine dignity and love. Our proclamation of the Lordship of Jesus Christ is at stake in our solidarity with the most vulnerable. If our gospel is not good news to the poor, from Luke 4, it is not the gospel of Jesus Christ. Those who are poor and vulnerable, people who are oppressed, strangers, outsiders, or otherwise considered marginal, that's part of what it is to be alien, to be on the edge, to be on the outside, not to be included. And those of us who are Christian aliens on this planet are charged with exercising compassion and care for the other aliens we share God's bounty with. So for the crafters of this statement, living like an alien on this planet might include things like this. We reject the language and policies of political leaders who would debase and abandon the most vulnerable children of God. We strongly deplore the growing attacks on immigrants and refugees who are being made into cultural and political targets. And we need to remind our churches that God makes the treatment of the strangers among us a test of faith, which they find in Leviticus 19. We won't accept the neglect of the well-being of low-income families and children. We will resist repeated attempts to deny health care to those who most need it. We confess our growing national sin of putting the rich over the poor. We reject the immoral logic of cutting services and programs for the poor while cutting taxes for the rich. Budgets are moral documents. We commit ourselves to opposing and reversing those policies and finding solutions that reflect the wisdom of people from different political parties and philosophies to seek the common good. Protecting the poor is a central commitment of Christian discipleship to which 2,000 verses in the Bible attest. There can be fruitful conversation about how to craft policies to achieve these goals, and there can be disagreements about those policies. But there can be no doubt that protecting the poor is a central commitment of Christian discipleship. We protect and seek justice for those who are poor and vulnerable, and our treatment of people who are oppressed, strangers, outsiders, or otherwise considered marginal is a measure of our relationship with Christ, because we are Christian aliens on the earth. Following Jesus in the desert, we don't use our power to do showy magic tricks, to subvert God's intent, to amass a political following or solidify our own security at the expense of others, because we're Christian aliens on the earth. It's not easy to live as an alien. We would all prefer to move in and get comfortable. We would all prefer to draw up the bridges where we can and make sure that we and those we love are safe and secure in the things we value. That would be nice, but it's not what Jesus calls us to. So this is not easy. In fact, it's extremely difficult. No one of us, or individual congregation, or even individual denomination, can do it alone. We do it together, and we often fail. And the project will never be complete. And along the way, we will argue and fuss with each other. And sometimes we will have major fallings out. But we do our part while we're here, because we're aliens on this planet. We are Christians on this earth. And so we claim the promise that Paul makes in his letter to the church in Rome. The scripture says, "No one who believes in him will be put to shame. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek. The same Lord is Lord of all, and is generous to all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Because we're Christians. We're Christians on planet Earth.